You steal.
I don't steal anything.
You don't? You sold men.
Who's the man that I stole?
Tony's. You slept with them a few times.
Who? What man?
You not get the lead. Oh, you're such a liar.
Out of control right now because a wave of new rumors, old resurfaced clips, and messy family moments have all collided into one explosive conversation. People online are whispering that something happened between Tamar Braxton and one of Toni Braxton's past men, and the streets haven't been able to calm down ever since Tamar Braxton dropped a bomb.
Say, Toni Braxton?
Toni Braxton, I got
Toni
you.
Braxton. No, Toni Braxton ain't never had your back.
I got Toni Braxton.
I want it on record.
I want
it on national television. You want to say I don't have your back?
You didn't
Oh,
have my back
Lord
when it
Jesus.
came to your...
Bombshell during a heated moment that nobody expected. The clip has spread like wildfire, with fans replaying every second, trying to understand what really went down between the sisters and why the tension felt.
Oh, you're such a liar. Such a liar.
Man, he said he Tawana.
You know that's a lie.
I swear
You
to
know
God.
that's a lie. Which God are you trying to?
So raw. Some viewers say Tawanda sounded like she'd been holding this in for years, while others think she only said it out of anger. But regardless of the reason, the fallout has been loud in the background of all this chatter. Fans have pulled up old moments where Tamar seemed unusually close to certain men in Toni's life, and those tiny hints are now being analyzed frame by frame. Toni's expression in the resurfaced footage didn't
It's my child.
Do I know where you live?
Well, of course you don't come. So
Exactly.
my
So
thing,
how would I
I know
give
where
it
you
to him?
live because I put down your down payment.
help either, because the shock on her face sent people into overdrive. Right now, nobody knows what's true, what's exaggerated, or what's simply drama spilling over. But one thing is clear, this Braxton family storm is again unfolding in the most unexpected way, turning what seemed like a normal family disagreement into something that felt like the entire world had been invited to witness. The clip that sparked the storm was only a few seconds long, but it carried enough emotional charge to send social media into a spiral. It showed Tamar sitting across from her sisters, already frustrated, already feeling cornered, already sensing that the conversation was heading somewhere she didn't want it to go. Her voice was sharp, her tone defensive, and anyone watching could tell she was bracing herself for something she didn't expect to hear. Tawanda leaned forward.
Tawana, baby, I love her pieces. But hide your stuff when she come over, because she snatched the wig off your head when you looked the other way. She's super sneaky.
Her expression tight and heavy, almost like she had been carrying something inside for far too long. People who watched the clip said her eyes gave everything away before her mouth even opened. There was irritation there, but also something deeper, almost like hurt mixed with anger. And then she said it. She didn't shout it. She didn't whisper it. She just let it out the way someone does when they feel pushed into a corner.
You know exactly what you're doing. Don't be looking like that, you snake-ass son of a gun. You're a snake, and then you like controversy, and you like all...
She said there were whispers about Tamar being involved with one of Toni's past men. For a split second, the room froze. Everyone watching the clip later described that moment the same way. Silence thick enough to feel through the screen. Tamar reacted instantly. She blinked rapidly, looked stunned, then confused, then furious. Her hand hit the table, not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to show that she wasn't going to let that accusation sit in the air. Without fighting back, her voice cracked as she tried to understand how the conversation had taken such a turn. She demanded to know why such a rumor was being brought up, and why now. She denied everything in the moment, but her panic felt real. Viewers commented that it looked like she didn't even know how to process what had been said, because the accusation itself was so explosive. Toni sat quietly, almost too quietly. She didn't speak, but her reaction became the center of attention online. Her face was calm at first, almost unreadable, but as the clip continued, her eyes shifted and tightened the way they do when someone hears something that hurts. Fans said it was a kind of expression that only comes when a person feels blindsided by something they never imagined one of their own siblings would be connected to. Her silence made everything worse.
Steal.
I don't steal anything.
You don't? You sold men.
Who's the man that I stole?
Tony's. You slept with them
Oh,
a few times.
Who? What man?
You not get the lead. Oh, you're such a liar.
Because no one could tell what she was thinking or whether she believed the second. Within minutes, people were digging through old interviews, old episodes, old moments from live shows. Any tiny piece of footage where Tamar and one of Toni's men might have stood too close, or interacted in a way that now felt suspicious through this new lens. People pointed out a moment from a music celebration event, where Tamar stood next to someone important in Toni's life, smiling in a way that fans started calling to familiar, whether it was true or not. The clip resurfaced purely because of the timing. Viewers love patterns, especially when the family involved has a history of fiery exchanges, and the Braxtons have always been known for emotional honesty, sometimes to their own detriment, but the tension in that room wasn't only about the rumor. It felt like years of hidden resentment, old arguments, and quiet judgments were all boiling underneath. People online began speculating that the sisters had been dealing with unspoken jealousy for years, especially after certain career moments created distance between them. Some said the family often tried to hide their disagreements behind playful banter, but real issues always slipped through the cracks during heated conversations. Tawanda didn't just drop the accusation casually. Her tone suggested she had been holding onto it for a while, maybe waiting for the right moment or maybe waiting for the wrong moment, depending on how people interpret it. Fans said she sounded like someone who had finally decided she wouldn't carry the burden of a secret anymore. Tamar argued immediately, saying she had no idea where such a rumor even came from, and that it was unfair to bring it up without proof. But Tawanda didn't back down. She insisted she wasn't inventing anything, that she had heard it from people close to the situation. The tension in the room thickened so fast that even viewers felt uncomfortable. The argument didn't stay calm for long. Tamar raised her voice, insisting that her character was being attacked unfairly. She said she had always been loyal to her family and would never intentionally cross a line with anyone important to her sister. But her voice cracked again. An observer said that crack made everything more dramatic because it suggested real hurt. It wasn't just anger. It was disbelief that such a claim would come from a sister instead of an outsider. Interview 137, 146, and as emotions rose, more layers of old drama resurfaced. Tawanda brought up financial arguments, hinting that Tamar had thrown her support in her face before. Tamar shot back that she only ever helped out of love, and that she never used her generosity to embarrass anyone. The argument quickly turned into a storm of old wounds, from borrowing money to borrowing clothes to who said what during a past disagreement. Fans watching said it felt like a volcano erupting after years of quiet rumbling. What made viewers talk even more was how the other sisters reacted. Some stayed quiet, listening but not interfering, which only added to the sense that this fight had been building privately for a long time. One of them tried to calm the room down by reminding everyone that families say hurtful things when they're upset, but that didn't stop the tension from rising even higher. Interviewed at 36 to 44, the rumor itself became almost secondary as the emotional explosion took over. People online pointed out that the argument revealed something about their dynamic that few had ever seen so clearly. They said the sisters seemed exhausted, like years of protecting each other and hiding their frustrations had finally boiled over. The pain in their voices made the entire situation feel heavier than just one accusation. And yet, while Tamar denied everything, some fans commented that her reaction was almost too emotional, making some viewers wonder whether there was something deeper behind the rumor. Others defended her fiercely, arguing that being accused of something so damaging by a sibling would make anyone emotional. The debate turned into a split conversation, with half the viewers convinced that the rumor held truth and half insisting that it was just a weapon used during a heated moment. The tension in the room didn't ease. Tamar stood up, pacing back and forth, running her hands over her hair as if she was trying to stop herself from crying. She said she didn't deserve to be dragged through something she had no part in. She reminded Tawanda that sisters are supposed to have each other's backs, not tear each other down when tempers flare. Tawanda simply stared back, her face unreadable, almost like she had more to say but didn't. Viewers said that look alone added fuel to the fire. As Tamar sat back down, her breathing uneven, the entire room felt like it was holding its breath. No one moved, no one spoke. The weight of everything said hung in the air. And then, just when it seemed like things might calm down, another layer of emotion surfaced that made the entire situation even more intense. Tamar's breathing remained uneven as she tried to sit still, but the tension inside the room refused to settle. The silence stretched so long that even viewers felt uncomfortable replaying the moment. It was a kind of silence that doesn't come from calm or patience, but from everyone trying to process something that should never have been spoken out loud. Toni shifted slightly in her seat, not because she wanted to talk, but because her sister's pain was vibrating through the room in a way that was impossible to ignore. She didn't reach out, though. She didn't comfort. She just watched with a mix of shock and disappointment that nobody knew how to read clearly. Interview 307. 3:15 TAWANDA folded her arms and leaned back, almost as if she was trying to distance herself from the chaos she had just created. Or maybe she felt she hadn't created anything at all, and was simply revealing what had been lingering beneath the surface. People watching later argued about her body language. Some said she looked guilty, like she regretted mentioning the rumor at all. Others believed she looked relieved, like she finally released pressure that had been building inside her for years. The divide among viewers only made the drama feel even more intense. Tamar kept her eyes on the table for a moment, trying to collect her thoughts. She then looked up, her expression raw, her voice trembling as she said that she couldn't believe she had to defend herself against her own sister. She said if anyone else had said something like this, she could write it off as gossip or jealousy. But coming from Tawanda, it cut deeper. Her voice cracked again, and the hurt behind it made even people online soften for a moment. Someone who watched the clip wrote that Tamar looked like a person who had been accused of something she didn't even know she could be accused of. But Tawanda wasn't done. She didn't yell or raise her voice the way Tamar had, but her calm tone made her words sting in a different way. She said she wasn't making anything up and that she had been holding on to this information for a long time. She also said she didn't want to be the one to say it, but she was tired of being painted as a sister who only brought drama or caused problems. She said she was tired of looking like the villain whenever the family argued, while everyone dismissed her feelings or treated her like she didn't know anything. Those words created a new crack in the room. It wasn't just about the rumor now. It was about years of feeling overlooked, years of feeling misunderstood, years of watching her sister succeed in ways she didn't. People online said this moment was the most honest they had ever seen Tawanda. She wasn't shouting or trying to embarrass anyone. She was speaking like someone who had been carrying invisible bruises for too long. Interview for 27. For 45, Tamar shook her head slowly, unable to accept what she was hearing. She told Tawanda that nothing justified accusing her of crossing such a line, especially in front of everyone. She said the sisters had argued many times, but certain accusations were too personal, too damaging, too heavy to throw during a heated moment. She told her that she had always tried to show love, even when the fights got ugly, and that she didn't deserve to have her character dragged like this. The tension between them deepened as they went back and forth, their words overlapping, their emotions clashing. It wasn't just an argument anymore. It felt like an emotional unraveling. People online said the fight reminded them of the people who loved each other deeply but couldn't escape the resentment they tried to hide for years. It made the entire moment feel heavier, more complicated than a simple rumor. While the two sisters argued, the others remained quiet, their faces filled with discomfort. One of them finally spoke, explaining that sometimes anger makes people say things they don't fully mean. She said that the family had a habit of hurting each other when they felt cornered, and that maybe all of this had come from a place of built-up frustration rather than truth. Her voice was calm, trying to bring peace, but it didn't immediately help. Viewers commented that this particular sister's attempt to calm the room revealed just how tense things had been long before the cameras rolled. People began commenting that the family might have deeper issues that had never been addressed publicly. Some fans said they always felt something was off in the dynamic, but watching this clip made them realize just how fragile the relationships might be. Tamar wiped her face, trying to hold back tears. She asked why she was always the one placed at the center of every rumor. She wondered why every time something messy came up, it somehow landed on her shoulders. She said she had her flaws, she had made mistakes, but she would never betray her sister in that way. Her voice cracked again as she repeated that last part. She said she would never do that. The room softened briefly, like the weight of her pain was finally being felt instead of dismissed. But then, Tawanda responded with something that blew the entire situation wide open again. She said that the rumor wasn't just something she heard randomly. She said it came from someone close to the family, someone who had no reason to lie. The moment she said that, Tamar froze. People online said the shock on her face was something they would never forget. It was a mixture of confusion and betrayal, the kind of look someone gets when they realize the rumor might have been circulating longer than they knew. The atmosphere shifted. Everyone looked more tense. It wasn't just about the accusation anymore. It was about the possibility that more people knew about it than Tamar had realized. Fans watching later said this moment felt like watching a person crumble in real time. Then came the moment that truly split the audience. Tawanda said softly that it wasn't just her who heard it. She said someone else had known too, and that person had chosen to stay quiet to avoid causing a rift in the family. When people replay the clip, they noticed the way Toni's eyes widened at that statement. She didn't speak, but the way she shifted slightly in her chair made viewers think she recognized something in what Tawanda was saying. It created a new wave of speculation that maybe more of the family had heard the rumor, but no one knew who to confront. So they buried it. Tamar saw the shift in the room and grew even more distressed. She asked why nobody told her if they had concerns. She said she would have addressed it openly. She said hiding things only made everything worse. Her frustration turned into a painful mix of desperation and disbelief, and viewers felt every bit of it. The emotional chaos continued to build, each sister's silence or comment adding fuel to the fire. And right when the room seemed like it couldn't get more tense, another unexpected detail surfaced that pushed the conversation into even deeper waters. The unexpected detail came from one of the quieter sisters, someone who usually avoided stepping into the center of arguments. Her voice was soft but steady when she finally spoke, and the room shifted as soon as everyone realized she was about to reveal something she had been holding back. She said she didn't want to take sides, but she also didn't want to pretend she hadn't noticed things over the years. She said she remembered moments that felt strange back then, but didn't seem serious enough to question at the time. It wasn't a confession, and it wasn't an accusation. It was more like someone admitting they had ignored their own instincts for too long. Her words didn't point directly at anything, but the implication alone stirred the room. Tamar whipped her head toward her, her expression a mix of fear and disbelief, as if she couldn't understand why anyone else would add fuel to something she insisted wasn't true. Tawanda leaned back even more, almost relieved that someone else was finally speaking up instead of leaving her to carry the entire emotional weight of the claim. People who watched the clip said this moment felt like a turning point. It wasn't the kind of confirmation that settled anything, but it cracked open the possibility that not everything had been said yet. Old feelings, old suspicions, old grievances started floating through the conversation in ways that made the entire argument more tangled. Tamar began talking fast, trying to explain how family moments can be misinterpreted, how laughter or friendliness can look suspicious when taken out of context. She said she never crossed boundaries, never disrespected Toni, and never allowed any situation to blur lines. She spoke with so much urgency that people online said sounded like she was trying to outrun the rumor itself. The quieter sister apologized softly, saying she didn't mean to imply anything. She said she just wanted to be honest about what she remembered because the tension between Tamar and Tawanda was turning into something none of them could control. But the apology didn't calm Tamar. Instead, it made her feel even more alone. The room felt heavier as she realized she wasn't just fighting one sister's claim, but the silent doubts that seemed to exist in the background. Toni finally shifted forward, resting her elbows on her knees. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse Tamar of anything. She simply said she didn't know what to believe anymore, because none of them talked about things honestly until they were screaming at each other. Her voice wasn't angry. It was tired. Tired in the way someone gets after years of watching the same cycle repeat with no change. People online said this was the moment that broke their hearts the most, because it showed how deeply the sisters' communication had fractured. Tamar stared at Toni with wide, glistening eyes, whispering that she would never betray her like that. She repeated it slowly, as if hoping the sincerity in her voice would be enough to reach through all the noise. Toni nodded slightly, but her expression didn't soften the way it usually did when her sister showed vulnerability. She seemed stuck between wanting to believe Tamar and not knowing how to process the sudden wave of conflicting stories. Tawanda crossed her legs and folded her arms again, but this time, her expression shifted into something more defensive than angry. She kept saying she didn't want to fight, that she only brought up the rumor because she was tired of feeling blamed for everything. She said every time she messed up, the whole world pointed fingers at her, while Tamar's mistakes were often brushed aside or excused. She said she wasn't trying to ruin anything. She just wanted to stop feeling like the only problematic sister. Tamar shook her head, her voice rising again as she insisted this wasn't about favoritism or comparisons. She said this was about an accusation that could destroy her relationship with Toni, and she begged Tawanda to explain why she would repeat something so harmful without talking to her privately first. Her voice cracked again, and fans said the pain in her tone was hard to watch. Tawanda didn't flinch. She said she tried to talk before, but every time she mentioned anything that made Tamar uncomfortable, she felt dismissed. She said Tamar acted like the world revolved around her feelings, and that anyone who didn't tiptoe around her ended up being labeled the mean sister. She said she was tired of being careful, tired of walking on emotional eggshells. The tension in the room escalated again. The sisters brought up old arguments, old disappointments, and old wounds that had nothing to do with the rumor, but everything to do with their fractured bond. It became clear to viewers that this wasn't a fight about a single claim. This was a fight about years of unresolved resentment and miscommunication. Tamar wiped her face again, trying desperately to gather herself. She said she didn't deserve to be treated like a villain, especially when she had always tried to protect the family image. She said she knew people watched their every move, judged their every word, and twisted their every disagreement into something bigger than it was. She said the last thing she wanted was to give the world something painful to talk about. One of the other sisters stepped in again, trying to calm things down. She reminded them that families sometimes misinterpret each other's intentions, especially when emotions get involved. She said maybe the rumor had been misunderstood or exaggerated along the way. She said maybe the original source didn't even mean it the way it sounded. Her voice was gentle, but her words didn't stop the emotional unraveling happening between Towanda and Tamar. And then something unexpected happened. Toni finally asked a question that shifted the entire energy of the room. She asked Tamar if she ever felt overshadowed by her. It wasn't asked with pride or accusation. It was asked with genuine curiosity, almost like she had been wondering for years, but never found the right moment to say it. The question stunned everyone. Even the viewers who watched later said the question felt like a quiet earthquake. Tamar looked completely thrown off. She stuttered for a moment before admitting that yes, sometimes she did feel overshadowed. She said it wasn't because Toni tried to overshadow her, but because the world often compared them, and the comparisons hurt. She said it made her insecure sometimes, but she never allowed that insecurity to turn into betrayal or resentment. Her voice softened as she spoke, revealing a vulnerability she rarely showed. Towanda listened quietly, her expression unreadable. Some viewers said she looked sympathetic for the first time during the whole argument. Others thought she looked surprised, maybe because she had never heard Tamar admit something like that before. The moment felt raw, honest, and emotionally draining, but the conversation didn't stay calm for long. The quieter sister mentioned that their family had always struggled with comparisons, both inside and outside the home. She said people always placed them in categories, calling some the responsible one, some the dramatic one, some the emotional one. She said those labels affected them more deeply than they liked to admit. Her words sparked another emotional shift, forcing everyone to confront the reality that they had been hurting each other. Without realizing the long-term impact, Tamar looked at Towanda again, her voice trembling as she said she wished her sisters trusted her enough to talk privately about concerns instead of waiting for explosive moments. She said she didn't want to be the root of tension, and she didn't want her sisters believing rumors that could break them apart. She begged them again to understand that she valued her relationship with Toni above any pointless drama. Towanda sighed heavily, her shoulders dropping for the first time. She admitted that the rumor bothered her. The fragile calm shattered the instant that quiet comment slipped out. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it carried a weight that dropped into the center of the room like a stone hitting water. She said there was a moment years ago, a moment she didn't bring up at the time because she didn't want to cause tension. But now it was haunting her because of everything being said. She said she once walked into a backstage room and saw Tamar sitting beside a man Toni had dated, and the vibe felt different from a simple friendly conversation. She didn't say anything inappropriate happened. She didn't accuse. She simply said the energy felt off and she didn't know how to read it back then. Tamar's face went pale. She blinked rapidly, her mouth slightly open, as if she had been punched by a memory she didn't expect to be mentioned. She asked which moment she was talking about, her voice unsteady, almost shaking. The sister hesitated, which only made Tamar more anxious. When she finally explained the event, Tamar immediately started shaking her head, insisting that nothing inappropriate happened that day. She said she remembered exactly what was going on and that it wasn't even close to what it seemed. Her voice rose again, filled with desperation, because the mention of that moment made everything worse. People watching online felt the shift instantly. They said it wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was the weight of several small misunderstandings piling on top of each other, until they created a mountain no one knew how to climb. Toni's face softened for a second, but then hardened again, unsure of how to process what she was hearing. Viewers said she looked torn between wanting to believe the best in her sister and trying to make sense. of why so many tiny moments seemed to be adding up into something. FameFlop tried to explain what happened that day. She said she was comforting the man about something unrelated to Toni, something personal he had been going through at the time. She said she didn't tell Toni because it wasn't her place to share his private struggles. She said the moment looked strange only because it was taken out of context. She insisted that nothing in her heart or actions crossed any boundary. Tawanda pressed her lips together tightly, as if she wasn't sure whether she believed the explanation. She said the timing of that moment, combined with everything else, made the rumor difficult to ignore. She said she didn't want to believe Tamar had crossed a line, but small things kept resurfacing that made her question what she thought she knew. Tamar's voice cracked again as she pleaded with her sisters to understand that coincidences didn't equal betrayal. She said she had always admired Toni and would never intentionally hurt her. She looked directly at Toni as she said it, her eyes red, her face damp, begging for some sign that her sister believed her. Toni didn't speak at first. She took a deep breath, then ran her hand slowly across her face, as if trying to wipe away everything she had just heard. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but heavy. She said she didn't know what to think anymore. She said she had been dealing with stress for years, and the idea that her sisters might have been hiding something from her made her heart feel heavier than she could describe. She said she wasn't accusing Tamar of anything, but she needed honesty. Not half-truths or emotional explosions that made everything more confusing. This response broke Tamar completely. She burst into tears, not loud and dramatic, but quietly, in a way that made the room fall silent. She said she would never betray her sister, and hearing that Toni wasn't sure of her innocence shattered her. She said she felt like she was being punished for misunderstandings and coincidences that grew into monsters because no one talked openly when things first happened. Tawanda clenched her jaw, her own eyes shining with unshed tears. She said she wasn't trying to hurt anyone and that she didn't enjoy being the one who brought the rumor to light. She said she hated the feeling of being labeled the messy sister, but she also hated carrying secrets that ate at her. She said the resentment had been building for years because she felt like she was the only one. Whoever got blamed for anything. As the emotions in the room swirled, the quieter sister spoke again, apologizing for bringing up her old observation. She said she didn't mean to add more pain. She said she simply felt that honesty was the only way forward, even if it made things more uncomfortable in the moment. The atmosphere shifted from explosive anger to aching sadness. The tension was still there, but it had transformed into something heavy and quiet. Viewers who watched the clip said the room looked like a battlefield after the fighting stopped. With everyone exhausted, wounded, and unsure how to move forward, Tamar took a deep breath, wiped her face with trembling fingers, and said she wished she had known about these doubts sooner. She said she could have cleared everything up years ago if someone had simply asked her directly, instead of letting rumors grow in the dark. She said she felt betrayed that the people she trusted most kept silent instead of coming to her. Toni nodded slowly, her expression sad. She said communication had always been their weakness. She said they were good at performing together, laughing together, and arguing loudly together, but terrible at having the deep conversations that might stop them from hurting each other. She said she didn't want to lose her sisters over gossip or misunderstandings, but she also didn't want to pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Tawanda's voice softened as she admitted she never wanted to hurt Toni either. She said she had been scared to bring up the rumor because she didn't want to be blamed for stirring trouble. She said she now realized that holding onto it had only made it worse. She apologized for not coming to Toni earlier, but she also said she needed her own feelings to be heard. Tamar listened, her face still wet, and said she understood the fear of being blamed because she had felt it too. She said she wanted the family to trust her again, wanted the chance to show she wasn't the person the rumor painted her to be. She said she was tired of being seen through the lens of assumptions instead of truth. The sisters shared a long silence, each lost in their own emotions. It wasn't peaceful, but it wasn't hostile either. It was the kind of silence that comes when people are trying to rebuild something that's been damaged for too long. One of the sisters finally suggested that they step away from the argument for a moment and breathe. She said nothing could be fixed in a single conversation, especially one fueled by so much pain. She said the only way forward was to start fresh, without accusations, without secrets, without buried resentment. Toni looked at Tamar with soft, tired eyes and said she wanted to believe her. Tamar nodded quickly, whispering that she needed her to believe her, that her love for her had never been questionable. The moment between them didn't erase the hurt, but it created a fragile thread of understanding that hadn't existed earlier. Tawanda exhaled deeply, her posture relaxing just a bit. She said she didn't want to lose her sisters either, and she didn't want their disagreements to turn into permanent fractures. She said she hoped they could rebuild trust slowly, step by step, even if it took time. The room felt different now. Still heavy, still complicated, but with a small flicker of hope buried beneath the layers of hurt. The argument had taken them to places none of them expected, but it also opened doors they had avoided for years. The emotional wounds were far from healed, but for the first time in the entire conversation, it felt like they were willing to try it out as the conversation finally settled into something quieter. The emotional weight of everything that had unfolded still hung in the air. The sisters sat together without shouting, without pointing fingers, each of them trying to understand how so many small misunderstandings had grown into something capable of tearing their bond apart. The rumor that sparked this entire storm still didn't have a clear answer, but the feelings behind it were loud enough to show how deep their unresolved issues had run. People watching later said the room looked like a space where love and hurt were sitting side by side, tangled in ways that only family can truly understand. No one walked away with a clean explanation. No one got full closure. Instead, the moment ended with fragile honesty, scattered apologies, and the quiet hope that the sisters might eventually rebuild the trust that had been shaken. Fans online are still debating what really happened, what parts were misunderstandings, and what parts may have been blown out of proportion. Some believe Tamar completely, others think Tawanda spoke from a place of years of frustration. And many feel torn, just like Toni did in that painful moment. But one thing everyone agrees on is that this situation exposed deeper cracks that have been hiding beneath the surface for far too long. Whether the rumor has any truth to it or not, the emotional fallout has made the entire family dynamic feel more fragile than ever. Now it's over to you. What do you think really happened behind the scenes? Do you believe this was all built on misread moments? Or do you think the sisters have been holding secrets from each other for years? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like the video, subscribe for more emotional deep dives into entertainment drama, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Your voice keeps this conversation alive.